Good morning. It's Wednesday, January the 20th, and this is the heart of the matter. In the world's eyes, much of what Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount makes little or no sense. His recipe for a happy life is nothing like what we might come up with. It just doesn't add up to most people. They don't get it. And maybe nothing is harder for people to understand than what Jesus said in the last of what we call the Beatitudes. Matthew 5, verse 10 says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Of all the strange, radical, outrageous things Jesus said, this blows people's minds more than anything. How can any understanding of happiness include persecution? There is zero positive connotation in the word persecution. When we hear that word, we think of men being burned at the stake, or Christians being thrown to the lions in ancient Rome, or believers being beheaded by ISIS. It's hard to equate persecution with happiness, and yet that's what Jesus does here. He said, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness." So, how can persecution be good? Well, for one thing, when we're persecuted, it means that we are living a godly life. The world has no interest in a lackadaisical, lukewarm, compromising Christian. That kind of Christian doesn't irritate or convict the lost world. But a righteous Christian, a man or woman who is 100% sold out to Jesus, who strives to be holy in every area of life, that Christian will irritate the world. And if that irritation is great enough, it turns to persecution. The lost world wants to be left alone in their sin. But if some Christian is living a righteous life, that makes them look bad. It's convicting to them. And the world's strongest reaction to the righteous life of a Christian is persecution. Paul wrote that everyone who wants to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. And so, how can persecution be a good thing, be part of a happy life? Well, when it means that we're living a righteous life. Now, when we suffer the consequences of our sin, that is not persecution. That's not what Jesus is talking about. If you break the law and are punished for that, that's not persecution. If you cheat on your spouse or get drunk and you suffer painful consequences, that's not persecution. Persecution is when we suffer for righteousness, for doing right, not for doing wrong. Here's another positive thing that comes from persecution. It brings great reward. Verse 12 says, "Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven." How is it possible for persecution to be a good thing? Well, because the reward for those who suffer will far outweigh the temporary pain of persecution. I don't know if severe persecution will ever come to us as Christians in America or not. But if it does, there's reason to rejoice and to be glad and to consider it a blessing, because it means we're living a righteous life, and it means there's a great reward coming. And that's the heart of the matter.